In this lesson, we're going to learn about literary theory and the lens we'll use as we read The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. To do this, I'm going to quickly reference the 11th grade instructional video on literary theory. So when it comes to literary theory, it's similar to and another form of literary analysis. It's something that is complex and used to affirm or disapprove. It signals speculation, but it's not necessarily a guess. So by saying my guess is that suggests that there is a right answer, or saying my theory is that also claims an explanation that isn't obvious. Theory is more than a hypothesis. It can't be obvious, it involves complex relations, and it's not easily confirmed or disproved. Literary theory or criticism is a specific viewpoint a critic or reader has staked out from which they interpret, analyze, or even evaluate works of literature or even the world around them. When we interpret, we think about what are the various ways we can look at a text. When we analyze, we pull things apart, examine relationships, mulling cause and effect in a narrative or text. And when we evaluate, we explain reasoning and evidence. We read and listen to others' explanations for understanding or disagreement. So I want you to think of literary theory or criticism as a lens. When we think of it as a lens, we find lenses in eyeglasses, microscope, cameras, all with different abilities. They can help us focus, sharpen, deepen, magnify, shrink, or even distort and shatter what we see. But they all help influence and facilitate our perception and comprehension of something. And that's the key here with literary theory or criticism. We're going to use it like a pair of glasses or a camera to help us look at things differently in the world and what we're going to read in this unit. So when it comes to literary theory, it's similar to another form of literary analysis, or when we annotate a story, like we've done for the Moomog short stories. It's something that is complex and used to affirm or disprove. We'll be referring to the Oxford's Literary Theory, a very short introduction by Jonathan Kohler, a book that I use in 11th grade American literature. And we're going to look at cultural studies, which links to the critical race lens, which we'll learn about in a moment. So lots of big words here. Let's take note of the bold phrases as we're reading through this small paragraph. Cultural studies is driven by the tension between the desire to recover popular culture as an expression of the people, or to give voice to the culture of the marginalized groups, and the study of mass culture as an ideological imposition and oppressive ideological formation. So some familiar words here, some not so familiar. By reading through this critical race lens, the goal here is to give voice to the oppressed or marginalized groups and look at how the dominant culture, like the master and counter narrative, silences or suppresses certain stories, like the counter narratives. Basically, the critical race lens allows us to analyze the way literature, people, and things are shaped or manipulated by cultural forces, attuned to the problematic character of identity, the multiple ways in which it's formed, experienced, and transmitted. Cultural studies is all-encompassing. It covers everything from Shakespeare to rap music, high culture and low culture of the past and present. So again, this lens, it sees race as a social construct used to divide people. It looks at how race intersects with social class, how lighter-skinned, both white and non-white, have more power and privilege in general. So with the critical race lens, we can analyze events in our own life by asking things like, how does race play a role in our experiences and opportunities that are available or not available to us based upon our race? One specific way we'll be looking at how race plays a role in one's experience, in this case, for The Hate U Give, we're going to keep in mind a concept known as the model minority myth. This is a concept that considers a demographic group whose members are perceived to achieve a higher degree of socioeconomic success than the population average. This success is typically measured relatively by income, education, low criminality, high family marital stability. Oftentimes, the model minority myth refers to Asian American communities, like how Asians are good at math, or there's an abundance of Asian doctors. There aren't really many Asian criminals that are seen on the news. They're supposedly passive and get things done. Here's an example from a book we read in American literature by Jeff Chang, We Gon' Be Alright. He writes about the model minority myth, saying that it's the scholarship kid who wasn't a hard case, but still served your peers on the lunch line and wiped up after their cafeteria messes. The striver class townie whose working class grandparents lived in the country. It's kind of like that supposedly perfect kid or relative that your parents often compare you to. Up next, we're going to watch a short film by Wong Fu Productions and look at how the model minority myth affects Black and Asian communities, and especially this guy, who's known as Andrew. You might also be surprised to find Shang-Chi in this short film. So over on Nearpod, around slide 26 to 27, you'll find the short film episode 5 of Yappy. Once you're finished with the film, you'll be prompted with a question to write about the following. Use the critical race lens and the model minority myth to analyze this short film. In what ways do you see race playing a role in the characters' lives? What opportunities are being showed based upon their race? In what ways does Andrew struggle being a model minority? And what does he say? Explain your thinking. After that, find your way over to Google Classroom, where you'll find Lesson 4, Literary Theory, Critical Race Lens, and the Model Minority Myth, where you'll find the following instructions to make sure you complete the one-pager reading on the critical race lens, which is right here. And it looks like this. It's just a definition of the critical race lens and what questions a reader would ask as they're using this to analyze a text. And again, make sure to write a response to the open-ended question that I just showed you on Nearpod. Lastly, make sure to click Turn In so I know that you're done and to look for your response to grade it. This lesson has a few activities in it, so make sure you use your time wisely because up next is Mastery Check 1, where we'll pull everything together. I hope this was a good overview on literary theory, the critical race lens, and the model minority myth. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.